On now? Okay. Again, welcome everyone that is here. We want to welcome all you that are here in person and you that are joining us online this morning, wherever you are. Wow. It gets more intense every day. What I mean, the intensity for us to show up. Somebody's got to show up for this time that we're in today and not be knocked out with all of the emotion and all of the news and all of that. Somebody's got to hold space, as we call it. And that's what we want to do here at HeartLight. And that's why we have on here Bridging the Gap. Bridging the Gap. And we've learned that this gap has gotten wider and wider as this new experience of fourth dimension is more and more showing up, that we have taken what should be a polar. There's nothing wrong with polarization, because polarization, if it works together, is a powerful thing, right? Just as we talked about the male and the female working together to give us these lights in this room. If it wasn't for those two polars of the male and the female working together, we'd not have electricity. But if those decided to say, okay, the male says, I don't want any more work with the female. It's all about me now. It's all male. And the female says opposite. And they begin to clash and they become separate and not together. That could be disastrous. And that's what's happening in the world today when we see how disastrous things are becoming, is because we have become extremes. That's the thing you want to stay away from. Anything that is on an extreme side of things. And that can be extreme religiously, extreme politically, extreme in any way. You want to find ground where things can work together. When you think about really the genius of the idea of having a two-party system in the United States was a great idea and worked for a long, long time when both was working together. But now we're not working together. We're not even talking to each other. You can't even get in the same room hardly and have a conversation or communication take part, because we have drifted so far into these extremities. And we've learned that those who are in sort of command of the 3D world want it to be that way. They want us to be against each other and not work with each other. So something's going to have to give at some point, where we get to a place where we're going to have to open up and have some kind of real communication. So we're still talking a little bit on 4D here, and I hope we can start finishing this up so we can get to where we want to get to, and that's to 5D, right? I still keep coming back in my mind, because any kind of teaching like this, if you do not put it in your mind as some kind of a story, if you don't give it symbology, you're not going to understand it, and you're going to leave it in the abstract. So I have to have a story. And for me, the story comes from my background, which of course is theology and Bible and all of that. So I've used this story, and I'm going to mention it again, of Egypt leaving slavery, children of Israel leaving the slavery of Egypt and trying to get to the land of Canaan, or the milk and honey flows. That's their destiny. That's where they're to get. So they thought, like so many think right now, that once they got free from Egypt, they would immediately just go right on over into their destined land. They had no idea what was between them. And that's the thing I think it's missing with all this 3D, 5D teaching that's out there, is you can't get from 3 to 5 without a 4. So 4 has to be dealt with, and that's what we're trying to do here, is to empower. How can we navigate through 4D? So let me give you the symbolism of the story a little bit again. So let's say Egypt represents 3D. Because in 3D, we sort of have been enslaved. We really have. I know we think we have freedom, but we don't have near the freedom that we think it is. When I go to vote for somebody, all my life, I didn't, probably the two people would not be the people I would have chosen to have voted for anyway. But I was given a choice that was made for me between who I'm going to vote for. So the people really are not choosing who they want. They're choosing who they're told, and the illusion is I'll give you two, but really the strings that are pulling the two are the same strings in many cases, right? So Egypt represents a place of our slavery, a place in which we are being controlled by the so-called few. Okay? Now, let me ask you a question in the class. Who's the caretakers of 3D? Humans. Humans. We were given the dominion over 3D. We was given dominion over our ability to reproduce ourselves. Everybody thinks that God chooses every little baby that comes in. No, it is how people use their reproductive ability to make a body, a fetus, that is between two people. So humans make other humans, is what I'm saying to you. And I hope by saying that I'm getting God off the of the like why would God do this kind of stuff? Why would God make a baby that something was wrong with the body or something is like that? That's a big question out there. Why would God make a body that cannot function? Well, they didn't. Two people did. And then two people made them, and two people made them. It's a whole ancestral genetic story is the body. Bodies make bodies. And that's why there's a place in the Bible that says that which is of the flesh is of the flesh, and that which is of the spirit is of the spirit. So in 3D, you got another polarity here that's extreme. You got being spiritual, and a lot of religions like mine was to be spiritual, then the flesh had to be evil. And it's from that we get such doctrines as original sin, because the body is born in sin. And I was taught anything human or of the flesh is of the devil type thing. So through what's happening in 4D will be the healing of that, and we will come together and we will experience the marriage. What's one of the first things that in the story of Yeshua or Jesus, the first miracle that is recorded is at the marriage? Right? In Cana. Now, there's a lot of people, I'm open to it, that believe it was his marriage. It wasn't somebody else's marriage, it was his marriage that he was going to Mary Magdalene. But the point was, it was an alchemy wedding because it was about changing water to wine, changing human to divine. But there will be a marriage between spirit and human. And that really started for a lot of us who are part of the unity movement, the science of mind, any of the metaphysical movements that's been out there for the last 150, 200 years, was the beginning of that marriage, of bringing spirit and body, divine and human, together. So we've been called to the marriage. to the marriage of alchemy, the marriage of transformation, change. And that's why we talk so much about change. Anyway, I won't go that direction. So the children of Israel are brought out into what's between where they've left and where they're going. And that's kind of where I think a lot of us might feel like we know we've left. I've left all my 3D religious stuff that I was taught in 3D, but I haven't quite made it to the manifestation of even what I'm teaching. I wish I was manifesting everything I was teaching. Oh my God, would I be something else? You know, I've been teaching all this great stuff for decades, but I haven't seen the full manifestation of what I'm teaching. So we have to look at why that is. There's something going on to why we need this wilderness experience. And in studying that, 40 years, which is an interesting number, means testing, but it also means a generation at that time was 40 years. One generation was 40 years. That's about how long people lived at that time, about 40 years. So an entire generation had to die out before they entered into the land. What that represents to us is we have generations in us that we have to give up and die out to become a new spiritual generation. Let me give you a great scripture that I just love. It's in Psalm 78. This is David the visionary looking down through into the future of his time. And he says, I see a generation to come that will not walk as their forefathers. But listen to the word, generation, generation. A new gene? A new DNA? A new blueprint is going to show up that's going to stop the ancestral story of 3D that has been passed down from one to another. Follow me, because the sins of the parents has been passed down 4 generations and more. There's got to be a generation that says the buck stops here. I'm not carrying on the story of just my ancestry. You're not here to really manifest the story of your ancestry. You're here to manifest the story of your creation, not your formation. Okay, I know it's getting heavy to think about. So, it also said when they came out mad. They were angry because they thought they was going to step out of this Egypt and right into this wonderful land, and here they were out here in a wilderness, and they were hungry. They used up the food way too fast. There was no really water, and they were so angry at Moses. They said, what in the world have you done? You've led us out here. We had it better in Egypt under Pharaoh. Under slavery, at least we was being taken care of. We had food to eat. And that's what I think people are maybe going through like now. What have you led me out into? And here's the thing that it said that caught my eye is they were men of war. The plan was not to allow the incongruence of 3D to enter with them into the land of milk and honey, which is 5D in our teaching. So that means everything had to die out that was karmically connected to 3D had to be done away with before they went into their 5D experience.
That's how our nation is born too. That's how our nation has been born too.
Yes. So all I can tell you is that what is being called upon us right now is what we call the work. Some call it the shadow work. Some call it the work of the unconscious and the subconscious. And we need to be willing to look into some of these things that can take us a little bit more deeply. So, what I want to get to, and I'll get there today, is two things that have mostly controlled 3D experience. Now, what do I mean 3D? 3D means the kind of life and history that you know and have been taught. You were taught in school. And how many of those things have been proved to be wrong? The majority of what you learned in civics, what you learned about what you should be eating, all these things, especially history of people, has just been incorrect. And the more information we've known, the more incorrect that we have seen that their information was. But remember, we're powerful beings, so if we believe, it doesn't matter what is right or wrong, if we believe it enough, then we will manifest it. Okay? So we have to take some responsibility and a third dimension that has been what I call miscreated. And that's why Jesus came into 3D and said, but the kingdom of God, 5D, is in you, and eventually it shall be among you. I've placed it in you now. I've hid it in you because I'm hiding it from them that have control over the planet in 3D. And I thought the best place to hide it was inside you. That's the last place they'll look. That man will look for is inside himself. They'll find it if it goes to a mountain. They'll find it if it goes to the valley. They'll find it if it goes to the sea. They'll find it wherever out there, but they will not find it within until it is time. And that's why the within message became so popular in the 80s with Shirley MacLaine and all that, and people started meditating and going within. And I call it the within movement. It was very, very strong at that time. So how have we been pretty much controlled in 3D by the few? And the question is, who are the few? And that gets into quite a story that we started, I think, last week. So the writing of the Bible is more accurately as a recorded history book, especially the Old Testament. I think you get in trouble if you try to over-spiritualize the Old Testament. But if you'll look at it as a written history of the story of the beginning of the Genesis of 3D, you could see a lot of things of what has made 3D what it is. So we should start with the first words that's written in the Bible, and that's in the beginning. But it doesn't translate that into the original language. It is in a beginning, not the. So something began in this recording, or Genesis. The beginning, Genesis means beginning. In the beginning of 3D is the Bible story. Are you with me? So what's the first thing that happens? Is Elohim shows up in 3D. Now, people want to believe that the Almighty God showed up, because it said in the beginning, God. That's why you got to look beyond the translation, because the word God is not in the original translation. It's been added in, and I keep telling you that which you call God didn't even know it was called God until we called it God. God is a man-made name for something that man wants to define and capture into human consciousness. So we lost the true essence of what we call God, which is the infinite essence. Are you with me? I'm going to take it slow. This is heavy duty stuff. I know we've been through this, but we just need to keep going through it. That what we call God is an say it with me. It is an undefinable, non-local consciousness interacting with itself. It is what? Undefinable. So it did not become defined until we captured it into a word, God, and the Word was made flesh. And God became a fleshly being out there, an old man in the sky with a white beard sitting out there somewhere, because we made God in our image. And we needed God to look just like us, a human being. And if you see every picture in religion of God, God looks like a human being, an old man. You have the Sistine Chapel, you've got God, the old man, touching Adam, you know. It is humanized. It is humanized. Okay? So, let's say in a beginning, the Elohim. That is the translation. Not in the beginning God, in a beginning Elohim. And we know we've been through Elohim. Look it up for yourself if you want to. Elohim is not a one single entity or being, but it is translated God's, little G-O-D-S, plural. So it is a plurality of that which shows up in the beginning of 3D. Now, stay with me, because this is very important stuff here. And I know I'm going back, but I got to go back. So here you have the infinite, the undescribable, non-local. I mean, how do you define it? It has no beginning, has no end, has no birth, has no death. It just is. That's why the words I am is so powerful. Yeah, there's nothing more powerful to connect with the essence of the true reality of the one than I am. That's it. I am. Then we start defining it. I am this, I am that, whatever. But I am. So I want you to just use your imagination a little bit and imagine what it would be to be an infinite essence or being or field or energy, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And your destiny is to work out a plan, and you pick out this little planet in what I call the boondocks of a galaxy called the Milky Way. I mean, look at the Earth where it is. It's not even the center of anything. I mean, look at all the decades that religion said the Earth is in the center. You know, I mean, Galileo lost everything because of the fact that he proved that the Earth was not in the center, but the sun is, and the Earth and the planets are going around it. Look at the price that was paid for that bit of information and knowledge. Copernicus, Galileo, they lost their lives. They lost everything that they ever had because they defined what an infallible religion said and had to be and was wanted to be unchangeable about changing it, even when the truth was brought, because it would have no longer made them infallible. So, dealing with an infinite energy, we'll call it, and it wants to get to this planet, the only way that it can do that is to use, guess what? Vibration. So So here's what the Bible said. And God moved across the face of the deep. What in the heck does that mean? I mean, who, reading the Bible as literally, would try to figure out, and God moved across the face of the deep? Well, and most people just read on. I stopped. And I said, wait a minute, there's something here. What is going on? So with this wonderful, blessed gift I've been given, I was able to do research into the word moved. What does that mean? Spirit moved across the face of the deep. And I found in a concordance, an old concordance, and God fluttered across the face of the deep. Ooh, what does that mean? And finally, I traced it down to an old enough translation, and God vibrated across the face of the deep, and there was light. Ooh, what's the first things we should look at? Vibration and light. That's why there's a return to such things as soul energetics and tuning forks and any kind of vibrational sound therapy that is out there, is because we're returning back to a new Genesis. Somebody help me. Getting ready for a new beginning. Just as that beginning started, so a new beginning, because everything cycles back. But it never cycles back to where it started. It always jumps into a different dimension. So here's how this happens. That which is infinite used enough vibration to bring itself into a place that it could fit an infinite amount of universes. We've too long made the universe the it. How can a universe which is finite hold something that is infinite? You see, with technology, we've seen the end. We've seen the beginning where the Big Bang happened, and we know that the universe has its own boundaries. It's not infinite. Now we know that universes are infinite. So it took universes or multiverses to hold that which was infinite. And that's when this that we cannot identify became universal. Now we have it down to a frequency in which it's a universal being. But that's not enough. It's trying to get to a planet. This unique planet in the boondocks of the Milky Way galaxy. And now we know there's about, 2 billion other galaxies? This is why this planet is so fought over, because of the uniqueness of how it's been chosen to be a platform for the plan that the divine has to be fulfilled. So it uses vibration again, and now it becomes a vibration that's slowed down enough to fit a galaxy or infinite galaxies. So now it's become galactic. Are you with me? Infinite, no beginning, no end, undefinable, universal, galactic. So we could say, and we'll use the word, God is, just is, then God became universal, and God became galactic, and now it changes its vibration and to fit a solar system. Now God is solar. And from that, it could reach to a frequency to hold itself at a planetary level, and now it's become planetary. See how important the vibration, using the spectrum of vibration and light is, and how that the infinite can become. That's the only thing that was missing in the infinite, when it had become nothing. That's why in Eastern teaching and quantum physics and whatever, we accept the teaching of the void. Zen, bring empty bowl. That's Zen. Come before the divine with empty bowl. That's why we've learned in the holographic universe that empty space is not empty anymore. It's not a vacuum, but it's a plenum of more energy than you could even comprehend. Is in 1 centimeter of cubic space is more energy than all the matter of this universe. What am I saying? The nothing and the everything became one. Even though it was everything, it had become nothing. That's where you and I come in. We are the infinite becoming. Are you with me? It cannot become without you. That's why it needs an embodiment of itself. Our creation, if you want to know the point of creation, was not out of the dust of the earth. And out of the dust of the earth, God made man. And now we put people back on the ground and from dust to dust and all that rigmarole that goes on. It's so ridiculous. I read that the word dust translated in the Bible was, it was looking for a word to translate that was the smallest minute particle that existed, and they didn't have a name for it. All they knew was gold dust. Now, if they had protons, neutrinos, and what quantum physics has found in the last 150 years, that I had a word, but they didn't have that subatomic level language, so they had to use the language of the time. And I've told this before, but I remember in Sunday school, my teacher bringing a scale, and we were all weighed, and she had gone to the store and found out how much dirt was selling for, and we all was told what we were worth based upon the cost of dirt. And I was pretty thin and skinny then, so I didn't weigh much. So I wasn't very much. Isn't that crazy? That's just how crazy it all is. So, here's what I'm saying to you. The Elohim's was the infinite, lowered itself into vibration that it became representative of itself on the planet. Elohim is the infinite represented on the planet. That was the idea of the Elohim, was to be the infinite on the planet. But here's the catch. For the plan of the infinite, we'll call it, had to do with free will. Free will was very important, and I've taught on this and tried to use stories to show you that sometimes we don't want love to be mechanical. You that have a lover, if you're a lover in any kind of a relationship, you want some spontaneity. You don't want people to have to tell you they love you because you was nagging at them so much. You never tell me you love me. And usually it's the woman with the guy, let's face it. Guys are less expressive overall, not all guys. I'm sure our guys are very different here because they got their yin and yang together a little bit more. But mostly it's the woman, who I call process versus man product, that want to be told. The words are important. The emotional side of the relationship, the intimacy, is important a little bit more than men. So let's say that you just keep on until, all right, I'm going to make her happy. Oh my God, I'll stop and I'll get some roses and I'll get some chocolates and bring it back to her and tell her I love her. So he comes in with all this and says, and you go, you don't mean it. You just did that because I asked you to do it. But what if someone surprised you out of nowhere and was truly expressing their love for you in some way? That would be a different experience, wouldn't it? So you see, the Creator did not want a bunch of robots running around that was programmed through the fear taught in religion to worship me and love me. If you don't love me, you're going to hell. Now, I thought that as a kid. I thought if I did, I better get with the program here and start loving God because I don't want to go to hell. So fear was the basis of my love for God. The fear of punishment. The fear I would miss heaven. You should. Because it really messes up your first chakra. So what I'm getting at is because this planet was a free will, in other words, we had to return back to the original source, and that's really what so-called praise should be. Praise should be a return of the love that created us back to itself. It's called the circle of giving and receiving in A Course in Miracles. And I think that's something, I won't get into it right now, but I've tried to find some good medium ground for that for us, because I think we quite don't understand or know what it means to spontaneously give any kind of recognition back to Creator here the way I would like to see it. Anyway, that's another story. So when the Elohims, who were gods, and this is why Jesus said it's written that he said, according to your law, know ye not ye are gods, in St. John the 10th chapter. He reminded them, know ye not ye are gods, Elohims. You've forgotten. And he was quoting what David said in Psalms when he says, the world is off course because you don't know who you are gods, and why do you lay down and die like the princes of the world when you are gods or Elohims? So when the Elohims hit a free will planet, that meant that they could use their power as they chose to use it. And this is where the great split happened, was among the Elohims. There was an aspect of the Elohims that says, you know what, I like this power. I don't think I want to represent something. I want to be the thing I represent. And they made themselves into the God of this planet. And that's the God that says, I am God and I am one and there's none beside me. And that's the God that was worshipped in the Old Testament. That was called Jehovah or Yahweh. But another part of the Elohims said, no, we're on a mission and we're going to continue to represent that which our source that we came from. So all of a sudden there became two sources. The source of Creator, let's say, and then the source of the creature who became the Creator. And this is all in Romans, the first chapter. It tells you all about this, but it gets complicated, but it's all there. You know, all this is coded in the Bible. My God, if people would have known how to teach the Bible, we'd have a whole different Christianity today that you wouldn't even recognize.
So they became
So those became the true Elohims or representatives of the divine creator. So I'm going to use for language, the Elohims then become the light Elohim and the dark Elohim. The dark Elohim took over the planet, convinced Adam's race, earth beings, that they were the true God, worship us, feed us. And that's why religions were built in 3D to feed the darker side of the Elohim. And how do you feed it? Fear. There's a little old movie. I'd like to see it again. I was so impressed with this little movie. Oh my God, what's the name of it? It was a cartoon thing. I made a whole group of people go with me. I was teaching somewhere to go see it, and it was I can't remember, but it was a whole town of these weird beings. Monster Inc. or something like that. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so good. Anyway, it was a town of these weird looking monster things. And every day they went to work, and what they went to work for was to feed their town through fear. So they would crawl off into the human world and scare babies and children and stuff, and the more fear would be the fuel for the town. And I thought, man, is that the truth? These millions of people in these religions that are coming from the fear of God, the fear of hell, the fear of this, have done nothing but fuel fear into 3D. And there's another thing. There's two things that fuel 3D: fear and greed. Those are the two main witnesses of 3D: fear and greed. I don't know why I get into these things, but whatever. There's some reason I'm to do this. I don't think it's just to you that are here, but I think I got to get this out into the collective somehow. So thank you for indulging me to do this. So when the darker Elohims became the God of earth, the power to control, I don't know how I know this, but they banned the light Elohims off the planet. And I was told the light Elohims then ended up into star constellations. Mine is Pleiades. I can't tell you what yours is, but I have a feeling that we've all come from the same stars. And that's why when science discovered that 80% of the human atom is made out of the same thing stars are, look it up on the internet. Of course, the internet is the gospel truth, I know. But it is, that is true. You will find out that they are saying the same thing that makes stars is 80% the same things that makes up the human cell. We are star seed. Now, what was evolving on Earth is Earth seed. That's Adam's race. So you have star seed coming into Earth seed. Gosh. And what happened? It said they found them fair and went into them and produced a third group of people, which the Bible called giants, or Nephilim. The Nephilim, look it up, the Nephilim. So this is going to totally take the air out of even some of the metaphysical teaching that we're all of the same origin humanly. We are not. We are the same source spiritually. Creator is our Father, but we have different mothers. But that's another story. Oh, my time's going to get away before I get anywhere. here's what I know. 2,000 years ago, which was a very interesting astrological time, things were aligning. That's why they followed the star in the east. It was all an alignment of planets and certain stars that don't show up very often around the earth, but it was a tremendous experience of opening up portals. And one of the light Elohims off the planet made it back into the planet. And it was in the Bible called the first of the brethren. The first of the brethren was Yeshua, Jesus. What you call Jesus. I don't think his name is Jesus, but that's what they call him, Jesus. Jesus is another made-up name. He is a light Elohim. And as I touched on last week, I don't know why we're getting so heavy. What was interesting is up until that time, everything that was incarnating on the planet, remember this, was incarnating through a controlled portal over North Africa and the East, which had, how do I say it, advanced technological information on how to dumb souls down that incarnated into 3D. And that's why we fight over Iraq, Kuwait. That whole area has become the hot spot for a long time, not just because of oil, but because of the control portal into 3D. But 2,000 years ago, a new portal was made. When the first light Elohim had touched down into 3D and had the message of this, I am the way. That's the teacher. That's the teaching. If you'll let me teach you, I will teach you the way out of this hypnotic spell of those controlling your planet, and you will awaken out of the sleep of 3D. And you wouldn't be sitting here listening to me here or anywhere else if you had not come in at a level of incarnation that you did not fall deeply into the sleep of matter until death got you first before you were enlightened.
Can you say that again? Yeah. Please.
The technology makes sure that every incarnation of every life never reaches full enlightenment before death gets them. They do not want you to become enlightened in your incarnation. And that's why, I do this thing, not trying to be cute, but when you go through the tunnel at death and you go, I could have had a V8. That's why you and I must wake up before death. Death, you see, religion says death is your friend. After death, you get to go be with Jesus. After death, you get to be with your loved ones. After death, you get to go to heaven. After death, you'll know who God is. After death, you'll understand it better by and by, and sweet and by and all that. Because they dare not, enough of us, get it while we're in our mortal 3D bodies and get the enlightenment. Because it will shift the planet. And that's why the tuning forks and all these things we're teaching are open up these vibrational pathways like crazy and letting more and more of ourself advance toward enlightenment. Because everybody will get it, but you're only going to get it as slow as the group gets it. But now you can individually. That's why religion's kind of right on this idea of your personal savior. It's a personal thing now. Your salvation is personally based upon your choices of using consciousness for your evolution and not evolution trying to evolve you to your consciousness. Sitting in teachings like this and places like HeartLight all over the world will excel you be way beyond where you're going to get to if you just kind of go with the group. I trust you, death will get you, and you're going to say, oh God, I got to incarnate again. Oh my God, another incarnation. And people are saying to me, I don't want to incarnate again. I don't want to come back. That's because the incarnation cycle is ending in the people. Now there's a drive for us to evolve up, change our frequency and vibration. Let's go back to being more maybe solar. Oh, maybe we can change and become galactic. Maybe we can be universal beings. That's what Barbara Marx Hubbard called it. Homo universalis. Instead of Homo erectus and Homo sapien, Homo universalis, she called it. Universal beings. What I'm trying to tell you, not for your ego, but for your humility, truly how unique you are. That 2,000 years ago, a portal was open for you to incarnate that was not being controlled by those 1% or whatever you want to call them that controls about everything on this planet. And I'm sorry, I can't stick my head in the sand and say it's not out there, because there are such things as a few people who control the course of this world, from finance to everything else is controlled behind the scenes. Now, that does not open up the rabbit hole for me to fall down into every kind of conspiracy theorist that's out there. I'm not getting in the extremity of all the thing about deep state and the cabal and this, that, and another. I wish people quit these labels. Let's just get to the truth of things without labeling it, and then getting a group together. And that's the thing about the internet that is not a good thing for us right now, is because of the fact when we get on there and get a following. Oh, I agree with you. Well, I agree with you. Hey, let's start a new movement out here. And that's what we got now. We've gone back to tribalism. You got tribes of people that are gathering against things. And that's why I've stayed away from saying what I'm saying to you right now, because I don't want to be labeled any of this extremities that's out there. All I'm after is the truth. All I'm trying to do is wake up and remember what I forgot when I incarnated here. But the thing is, I didn't come through their portal. I came through the Christ portal, and that's why we've been incarnating on the planet for the last 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago. A way was made for us to come back and not go as deeply asleep, but you became, again, what Barbara Marx Hubbard calls conscious born. I had questions as a baby. Nobody taught me these things. It was in me from the very beginning as to why things are what they are. I looked up into the stars and longed for home. I knew my parents, my tribe, my family, my religion, my culture was not my destiny and home. It's something I was coming through. That's why I'm not sold out to all that 100%. I mean, I love my little family. They're coming this weekend and whatever, little grandkids and all that. But I'm not selling out to it. I did not sell out for the marriage and the picket fence and the 2-point whatever. I didn't sell out for it. There's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't sell out for it. Because something was bigger in me. The picture was larger than that. That's not what I'm here for. And that's what you're taught that you're here for. You women are born to make some man happy, to take care of the man, to do this. Men are here for this and for that. We've lost our true purpose to why we are here. And we think our destiny is to have the most perfect relationship and marriage in the world. trust me, I got a pretty good one, but there is no perfect that is going to feel the yearning of my soul. Are you with me?
We're with you.
And what I'm trying to do, and I hope others, we're trying to gather all these that have incarnated through the Christ portal to come together as light workers and reach a critical mass state so that we can intervene and change the course that has been set by the darker Elohims back to the divine plan of a creator that is infinite, that chose the earth to fulfill the plan. And what was the plan? To become all it is. It is the all. It is the all that was nothing. And we are the all in all. Whew. That wore me out. I'm not going to apologize, but I want to get to things, but there's an urgency. There's just an urgency that these words be spoken out into the collective consciousness. And let's all just take a deep breath. Our time is almost up, and I just want to take a moment. This is heavy duty stuff, and I know I've left Egypt, but I haven't quite made it to Canaan. But the thing about that story, it's beautiful. Before the children of Israel got there, there were 12 spies that went over and spied out the land. And I want you to know, I've spied out a land. I've spied out a land we're not in, but I've spied it out. And they came back and they said, oh, here, look what's there. The grapes grow like this. That's what they said. They took them back and let them taste of the world to come. I hope today I can let you taste of an age that is breaking through. An age in which all patterns and mispatterns of warrings, racism, and every ism that is divided and separated us has repatterned itself out of 3D. I don't like being in the wilderness, but I need to be in the wilderness. I need to be in the process. I need to face the pathologies of 3D that's emerging on the body politic. If nothing else, put your faith in there is a divine plan. And the kingdom of God will be set up on the earth, and it shall be done on the earth just as it is in heaven. And just take a moment to feel your place in that. Feel your place in that. Feel your story that you've been through. Not with regret. Not because a parent left you or deserted you or because you were abused because of that. That's not your true story. Your true story is your creation. Let us wake that sleeps and shake ourselves from the dust of the earth and be as a light, a city set on a hill that's the light of the world. Breathe. Breathe. Holy Spirit, I turn this session over to you completely because you are the teacher. I am not. I'm only facilitating and trying my best to interpret you, the voice of God in 3D, the whispers of God in 3D, into 3D language that can be understood and cause the awakening to take place. Where I have failed, where I have misinterpreted, where it's not been enough, I ask you to fill in through the spirit of those that are listening to me today and beyond. So it is. Well, for you that are, I don't know what your plans are, there is a wedding at 2 o'clock.
2 or 2:30?
2 o'clock's the wedding, 2:30 is the food next
I
door.
didn't realize it was a wedding, because they've already been married.
No, they're here for spiritual, they want me to spiritually marry them.
Oh, okay.
So there's the wedding over here at 2 o'clock, and that's beautiful over there. Man, they have got it set up beautifully next door. If you're not going to stay, be sure and peek in and look at how wonderful it looks over there. And she has done wonderful food herself. A lot of her Russian dishes, and she's done some great things. She's painted personally all the wine glasses, and she's gone all out. So some people say, well, I wasn't invited. Well, I don't think I was either. To tell you the truth. So I don't know how the invitations went out, but I'm inviting you if it's something you want to do. But it means kind of hanging out here for a while, and I don't know if you want to do that. I don't know if you want to wait till 2:30 to eat. So it's kind of an odd timing that they've chosen. I don't know what that's about. But whatever you choose to do, if we don't see you today, we'll see you Sunday, unless you're doing something on Memorial Day. Be safe. It's not a good time to travel. I would really pray about it. In doing travelings right now and whatever. All right. Oh, your support. I need the support. Your offerings, please. Already done that. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We're at the end of the month again, next Sunday, so we want to make all of our budgets. Thank you.